Hello. We are excited to be here with you again today. I am Shellen Brion, and I am part of the Supermoms team. And I have with me today Heather Black, the founder and CEO of Supermoms, and also the author of the best-selling book, Become a Super Salesforce Consultant. And it is an A to Z guide. We are working our way through each week, A to Z, and today we are on J.
I feel like I'm on a supermarket shopping channel. Here is the book. Glamorous assistant.
Well, tell us about job roles and responsibilities of a Salesforce team. This is such an essential part. And I think for many people, when we're building up our consulting skills, maybe not thinking about this particular element. And it's certainly a secret to success and something to prepare for and to have some great strategies.
Yeah, fabulous. So there's three kind of key factors that I look at in the book. One is who to have in your team. The second is how do you create a functioning team? And the third is how do you navigate the ups and downs of the emotions in a team, I suppose. And so they're the three things that I do a deep dive in the book. And I think the importance of this, and relevant to any IT project, right? A lot of the stuff that I talk about in this book is relevant to any technical digital transformation project, whether it's Salesforce or not, quite frankly. But the reality is that when you come together for a digital transformation project, you have a whole team forming, and that team will consist of external consultants. You might have an in-house Salesforce team. You will then have also the customer group of who will have the executive sponsor and project managers, etc., their side. So you've got what I call a pop-up team of people that are coming together for the first time for this project. Most likely they might have other jobs or other projects they are working on alongside. So this might not be the only main thing that they are working on. And so I suppose the question is, how do you form that glue that you all work together as a team? So that's really what chapter J is all around from that point of view.
This is an area that I think people, when they talk about kind of burning out of consulting, sometimes it's really not, when you dig into it, it's not necessarily the technical challenges, it's this piece, that this human element and this team dynamic. So I'm really excited to hear more.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe we should talk about the emotional thing to start with, because in a previous conversation I've had around Salesforce projects, there was this comment around like every Salesforce project is going to go through a grief cycle, or you'll hit that grief moment where things feel strained and stressed and everything else. And the biggest thing that I took away from the change management course, or one of my favorite theories really, is the Tuckman theory model. And it not only hit home for me in terms of work, but also in life relationships as well. So with the Tuckman model, he explains that when you form a team, you'll start off in a forming stage. And the forming stage is where you're setting out all the roles and responsibilities. It's almost like you've got your job spec, right? Everybody kind of, or hopefully you've got your job spec, you kind of got, you want to be documenting all your roles and responsibilities, and that's the forming stage. Everybody thinks they know what they're doing, they have a plan, and then you'll move into a combination of norming and storming. And storming is this point where it maybe not going as well as, imagine being in the boat at sea, and you suddenly get a bit of a storm going on. You can gravitate as a team between then norming and storming. Now, norming is where it's going fine, people are doing what's expected of them and things are going well. The storming phase will naturally happen, and inevitably will probably happen in most team scenarios, where there'll be things that aren't done, or there'll be a misunderstanding, or there'll be missed expectations. And that's when conversations need to happen. Now, what's really important, though, is that if you explain the Tuckman model at the outset to any team and say, look, this is normal. We are going to go on this cycle of forming to start with, and then norming and storming. And if you sound basically sort of, what's the word? it's really important to vocalize at this point that we might get into a storming situation where some of you are feeling a little unsettled, a little unsure, cross, maybe angry around something, but it's what they do at that point. It's really important that they speak up and that they talk about it, so things can be realigned, reviewed, and reassessed and put back into then the norming state, if you like. Because if you don't speak up and if you don't say anything and you grumble at home to somebody, it's not going to be resolved. And so knowing that the storming phase and that actually every team will go through this and that it's normal makes it feel okay, and makes it feel like, okay, this is okay, I feel bit things, but what am I going to do about it? I'm going to talk about it, I'm going to take it to the leader of the team, and we're going to review and sort of, realign things. And if you can have a team that knows that that's okay and knows that this is normal, and you can reestablish the norming, and then what you will do is move into performing at some point. And performing is where the team are doing what's expected of them, but then are continually improving processes and actually exceeding, their targets and really moving forward. So that's the cycle that every team goes through. And I think it's really important that you kind of share that with any new pop-up team and put it and say, look, at some point on this journey, we're probably going to have a little bit of a tiff, or there'll be something that happens, or you might feel upset. And so just call it out before it even happens. So people go, oh, you can make a bit of a joke about it and go, we got to say we're going to be at that point. Okay, well, now I'm there and this is happening. So I felt that this was really important, because even at home, when you're, navigating things at home and you're working as a team with a partner or sister or family or whatever, these things can, happen. And it's okay that there's conflict sometimes, but it's what you do, say the way you communicate and bring it back to normal. And so yes, there's always going to be those challenges, Shellen.
That I think back into when I was introduced to Salesforce, was being on the client side, a really prospect side initially. And I think about that, if they had taken the time to really bring that to our attention, that's a natural part of getting to the performing stage. It's not just like a derailment, it's an essential part of building that trust and communication and working together and getting to that performing. Because I think back when we hit those stormings, we kind of all went off in our separate camps, and we didn't come back to really performing at a high level. And I wish we had this type of knowledge, and certainly had a consultant who was trained well in bringing that forward and leveraging that as a way to move things forward. So how do you recommend, as a consultant coming into a situation in a pop-up team, working through those jobs, roles, and responsibilities, if they're coming into a situation where perhaps it wasn't as organized and set up that way, of really getting this set up in that forming stage effectively?
Yes. So in my book, I don't know if you can see it here, maybe. Where's the camera there? So in here, there's a little table, and this table looks at Christian Inglase's team forming theories and recommendations. So a lot of what I've pulled through here is, from change management methodologies and practices. And with their approach, it's kind of like, well, actually, how do we set up a team for success? So it looks at the team mission, it looks at team roles and responsibilities, it looks at team communication. So how often do you meet? How do you communicate in between? Who writes up the meeting notes? How do you take actions? It's all these little nuts and bolts of forming a team and putting the foundation and structure into place, because quite often this storming can happen because some of these foundation elements haven't been put into place. So they talk through, I think there's five different areas here, from team mission, team roles, team operating processes, team interpersonal relationships, and inter-team relationships. It delves into all of those components to say, these are all the things that you need to think about when you set up a team to set it off in the right direction. And then alongside that, you need to make sure you've got the right roles and responsibilities in a team. So I look at, who is it you need from the client side? Who is it you need from a technical specialist side? Who is it that you need from a consultancy side? And what those different roles are. And sometimes smaller organizations will sort of come back and say, well, we can't afford all those different roles, and that's fine. Obviously, we're not saying that one person we're not saying that one person is equal to one job. It might be that one person wears multiple hats. What's important is all those hats are covered, because each person in that team or each of those roles needs to be covered by somebody, or else you're going to get a missing piece of the jigsaw. So it's equally important to make sure that, okay, we know Joe Bloggs is wearing these 3 hats and that they have the skills to do those hats, most importantly, and they're delivering on it. So the job roles and responsibilities is really about making sure that you are setting up the team for success, that you've got all the different roles covered, that you've set up the team with the right foundations, and that you're really enabling people to be aware that we are going to go on this journey together. We're all going to hold hands. At some point we might have a little bit of a fallout, but it's how we communicate and how we get back on, because we want to achieve that performing state. So that's like a quick summary in a nutshell of chapter J.
I'm curious, you've hired a number of consultants. How often do you feel that people actually have this knowledge base and come to a consulting role prepared to do this part of the work?
You know what? I got the best email the other day on this. So somebody's bought my book who's a customer because they want to check if the consultant is doing all of these things. I was like, very clever, very clever.
I hadn't thought about that market for the book.
So watch out. I think it's incredibly important to have that checklist. And you know what? I really appreciated actually the feedback from a presentation I did on Thursday night at the East Sussex Salesforce user group event, because there was a lot of senior Salesforce consultants in that room, senior men who'd worked on projects for years. And all of them said to me afterwards, that was brilliant. That was an amazing checklist and really useful for me to just go back and reflect on, have I got everything stacked up? And so, regardless of how many years that you've been doing Salesforce projects, this book is proving useful to people of all levels and experiences, for them to have that checklist of, can I do things differently? Am I doing everything I should be doing? As well as for customers equally, obviously, where they can check that Salesforce consultant is doing everything they should do. I love that. So, I think it's there for everybody to sense check against, and to X-ray. We haven't got to X yet, but X-ray is X-raying how well they've done on projects.
So interesting. Well, and the book is an amazing opportunity to get to tens of thousands of dollars worth of knowledge and tools and resources to be able to put towards consulting projects, or shoring up and getting prepared for those types of roles. If somebody wants to get a little deeper, why don't you just take a moment and share about the consultancy course and why you designed it the way it is, and perhaps the next opportunity to participate.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've absolutely loved meeting people who've come on our course, who've read the book and were like, well, if this book was this good, then I really want to learn more from the course and get more of this structure and sense check. So it's been lovely, hearing people's feedback from the book and them really wanting to learn more. So the book gives you the consensus, the framework, if you like, of what you need to know, but it doesn't give you all the skills of how. It tells you what you need to know. And so with the course, the consultancy skills course, you learn all the depth of these methodologies, from business analysis, change management, agile project management, to the level where you feel confident that you can go and deliver them in practice and be certified in them as well, because you get a certification off the back of it. You don't get that from a book. So, it's an absolute privilege to be training people who've had years and years of experience with Salesforce that are doing the course and finding the value from it, to those that are complete newbies, and starting out on their journey, because I want you, the newbies, to mind the gap and not to make the same mistakes or miss things out. Why not get yourself completely informed at the start, and you have a checklist, because then you're going to walk into a project so much more confidently. So our next consultancy course starts in April. We'd love to speak to you if you're interested. You can sign up and register your interest in the course. And you get a discount if you go through and sign up for the book as well. So hopefully we'll see some more on the course, but otherwise I'd love to hear your feedback on the book too.
Perfect. And I did just put the link to the book for anyone who's interested in checking out and picking up a copy. And then we will be back here next Tuesday, same time, and moving on to Kay in the journey of becoming a super Salesforce consultant. So Heather, thank you for joining today. And we will see you all next week.
See you soon. Bye.